Hello, Paula Judith here, and with us is Jana S. Brown. She has been involved in publishing as an author, editor, presenter, slush reader, executive secretary, and in the all-around grunt positions for over 30 years. She is the acceptance editor with Book Cave and a freelance editor and author coach specializing in self-publishing. She writes the weird and the wonderful with Smoochies and has published 17 books, as well as newspaper articles, magazine articles, and has been included in anthologies. So thank you for joining us, Jana.
Fantastic. I'm happy to be here.
You know, if you want to talk, ask questions, you can unmute yourself. I'm sure that we can go. We're going to talk tonight about holiday promotions, which I think is great. I don't think we have to have specifically Christmas books or Thanksgiving books to promote during Black Friday or during the holidays. So take it away, Jana.
When it comes to holiday specific books, it does help because people are in that holiday mood and they do start thinking, I want a nice feel good Christmas book. I want to see some of these things. So it really can help your numbers if you have a book that is specifically about the holidays or one where you can kind of tie it in. So for example, I have a romance that takes place during the wintertime. And I always see good bumps on that during the holiday season, even though it's not specifically about Christmas. They're out in the snow, they're skiing, they're doing all those kinds of things. And so it's really easy to piggyback that kind of thing onto kind of that holiday. We want to be doing those kinds of things. So it can help, but Christmas books actually sell year round. We'll do promotions for Christmas in July and this, that, and the other, and we see really good clicks through on them. People like that holiday spirit because it's so uplifting. So yes, that helps, but does it have to be that way? No, because people are still always looking for a great place to escape, and a book is a wonderful place to escape. And I'll use my dear sweet husband as an example. He gets overwhelmed because I come from a very large family. And when there are 30 of us in the room and we're all having conversations at the same time, we handle it just fine because we grew up that way. And at a certain point, he's done and he removes himself very politely to another room and pulls out a book. And he is not the only one in this case. So we do see, just from a promotional point of view, people say, well, don't advertise around this day, don't advertise around this day. For Amazon ads, that can be true because now you're competing with a lot of big traditional publishers who are hitting those big holiday things. And so it does drive up Amazon ads, it does drive up Facebook ads. However, people are still looking for promotions on books, and they'll find those in Facebook groups. They'll find them in group ads, like group promotions, like you do with BookFunnel. They'll find them in promotions like what we do with the newsletter email promotions that Book Cave does. People are still looking for ways to get more books, especially when you are the one going, I've just finished Thanksgiving dinner and I desperately need a new author that I'm going to read all weekend. And we know our romance readers love a good binge. So if you've got several books already for them, that's a no-brainer. It's go settle down with that pie stomach and pop your e-reader open and just binge your new most favoriteest author.
Yeah, that's great. Didn't we just let somebody in?
Marvelous.
Let me see. Okay. I thought somebody just tried to get in. She had been messaging me on Facebook saying, I can't get in. There she is. So I agree with you because, I have read Christmas books in the middle of the summer. I don't know why, but I have. And then, there's a lot of times I will pick up books during the holidays that have nothing to do with the holidays. And you're right about binge reading. For some reason, we do that during the holidays because we don't want to, I guess, face the fact that, there's another present to buy. There's another person to go see. There's another cookie that has to be eaten.
Well, and it's a cozy thing. So for those of us in North America the Northern Hemisphere where we're getting nice and cold, then it's a nice cozy activity. And then for our friends on the other side of the globe, they're headed in, out to the beach. And so some of our beach reads and things like that, we always have to think seasonally, but for all parts of the globe. And what is seasonal on one side is differently seasonal on the other side. And so, yes, my friends down in Australia and in New Zealand, that thing, they're picking up these reads to go do their Christmas on the beach. And so you can bring in those beachy kinds of stories that you would think, well, I can't sell this during the winter time, but our winter is their summer. So one of the great things we can do with self-publishing, especially traditional publishers too, but especially in self-publishing, is we have an international reach. So it's a great time to reach out to your international audience and be able to say, yeah, I've got some great beach reads for you while you're doing Christmas Down Under. And that can be a really great way to position your book so you take advantage of the international nature of our sales.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And I I understand what you're saying about advertising getting expensive during the holidays, but the nice thing is we can mitigate that a lot by reaching out on our newsletters and reminding people, if you're a bah humbug person and don't want Christmas, I've got this over here. And if you really want Christmas, I've got this over here. So, there, that's kind of the double whammy. Maybe somebody will see an ad, but then they also see your newsletter. And so, at that point, they get that double whammy. And then I would presume that doing posts and stuff like that on your social media would be also beneficial.
Yes, but you have to look at the scheduling there a little bit because people, if they are traveling, they do tend to back off on social media a little bit. So you need to really watch what's happening in your social media. Are you getting responses to things? Sometimes you'll want to repeat something and say, yeah, I'm going to talk about this on Monday, but I'm going to talk about it again on Friday because I'm picking up those people who are now only checking once a week because they're traveling with family. They're checking from their mobile device, which my phone is this teeny tiny. I have a very, very old iPhone. I admit this, but I'm stuck with it because it's cherry and it's really cool looking and the new ones are expensive. So I haven't bought a new one. But there's only a certain amount of social media that I want to do on there because when it gets graphically intense and things like that, I want to move to my computer. And during the holidays, that becomes a little bit more hit and miss, but people are still checking in. And they do still check email. The stats on it is that 86% of the people who have internet have email, and of those, 95% of them check them every day. That number doesn't go down much during the holidays. They're still checking in. They still want to know what's going on in their world. So like I say, if you can get them onto your newsletter list, that is an excellent way to be able to reach out to people year round. And it's an easy way to say, hey, I've got a holiday something going on. You can get the omnibus on sale. You can get some of those things and reach right into their digital home. That's also where you can work with places like Bookcave, those of us who do the email marketing, because again, that email is still going right into their inbox and that still gets checked. So we see people say, well, you just don't get clicks during the holidays. And I'll tell you that on the back end, our clicks go up during the holidays. People are definitely looking at the emails, they're definitely clicking through. Now, the decision as to whether they buy or not, there's so many financial things that people are juggling during the holidays. So you get those who buy a lot more books during the holidays and those who back off a little bit, but they're still coming. They're checking, they're using your promos. So your promos can be really, really effective all year round and through that holiday time. It's not the time to back off on those, even though the paid ads, you may want to juggle those simply because you don't want to be in competition with traditional publishers and other publishers that have much deeper pockets than you do. Those pay-per-clicks get driven up really quickly. So you need to be creative about what are the other ways that I can go around that and I can still reach my target audience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do we have any questions from anyone at this point? I don't want to get too deep into things before we have a chance to ask some questions. And if you don't want to be on screen, you can put it in the chat and I will take a look at the chat. Okay, so we don't have any questions at this point, but people can put questions in the chat if they want.
I know at least half of the folks here, so I'm sure they'll come up with me with something that they want me to talk about sooner or later.
Yeah, well, and I'm always kind of back and forth about the best way to approach things in a newsletter. Do we want to, you know, have those have those like discount codes in there. Um, During the holidays, do we want to maybe talk a little bit about our own holidays a little bit more to get some interaction that way? Because I know that when my inbox starts getting a little bit too deep, it's like, okay, I've got to trash a few of these and trash a few of these. And, you know, depending on the subject line, it depends on if I even open it before I trash it, which, you know, it's not ideal, but on the other hand, it's real.
Oh, it is. We skim subject lines, and very often in different, depending on how you're getting your email, it'll show that very first couple of lines. And so you always want to get that hook in there, and where you may say something like, let me tell you about my holiday, my light catastrophe, and give you a discount code for this upcoming trilogy, or, you know, however you want to do that. But if you can write up front, let them know what is the promise of your newsletter. And this should really always be the case, but especially during the holidays, because like you say, you start getting inundated with so much stuff that it's really hard to say, what am I going to keep? What I'm going to get rid of? So you want to think the same way that when we do a book description, the first thing we put there is that 1 to 2 line hook that says, what is the heart of this that's going to pull you into this book? A lot of times you want to think about your newsletter that same way and say, what is that 1 or 2 lines that's my strong hook that's going to tell them what is the promise of this newsletter? And if I can tell you, I'm going to tell you about a catastrophe. And I love a catastrophe. It's true. I will read other people's newsletters because I want to know that they have the same kind of holiday catastrophes that I have. Which currently my current holiday catastrophe is that the little boys who were helping to take care of my yard during the summer ran over these solar panels for my lights. So now I've got to take
Oops.
all the lights that are solar powered out of my trees and go put brand new ones in because they lawn mowed right over the thing, and there's plastic pieces, and they're 12 and didn't tell me. I think that they were embarrassed, and so nobody told me this until we went out to fix the lights. So you get those
Right.
kinds of stories, and we've all been there, you know. So we do like that connection. But if you put in that first line, you're also going to have discount code or a holiday special. Then for those who are really just looking for what specials can I get, because we do get driven by that. I think it's a hunter-gatherer thing. This is in our genetics that we must go forth and we must hunt the wild book code. That lets them know they're going to get some of both, and they should stick around and find the code, even if they don't need anything else.
That I think is a really good advice that you have there. So, and what specifically does Book Cave do? Because I'm not familiar with Book Cave. You know, there's so many things out there. You can't be familiar with everything. So,
Oh, yeah,
give yourself a
it is
plug here,
really, really
girl.
hard. All right, so here's our plug. So my book cave or book cave, you can find us either direction. We got in the game about 9 years ago, doing a similar thing to what BookBub does. So you can come and sign up as an author, and you can let us know when you've got a book that's on sale, and we will match you to our mailing list. Our mailing list is almost 500,000 strong. It is broken down by genre very specifically so that we can match the right readers with you. And this is the most important thing when you're working with any kind of promo site that does these newsletter emails is you don't want it just going to everybody because your book is not written for everybody who reads. You know, my sweet husband, bless his heart, does not want to read any of my romance books. He just doesn't.
I
This is not
understand
his
that.
thing. He will read my fantasy where I've got, you know, knights running around, smashing things, big magic, all the booms. That's his thing. He doesn't want to read all my romances. And so for him, if he's getting an email list and it always has all the things in it, he doesn't want to have to scroll to find the thing that he wants. And so when those companies are offering just a really broad, we just blast everything to everybody, you're not really getting your bang for your buck. You want to look for promo sites that break it down by genre. And if they can break it down by sub niche, that's even better. So that if we can go from just romance to, hey, these ones are our contemporary romances, these are our YA, these are our medical romances, that the more niche that the promo can get, the better match you're going to have. Something that Book Cave does uniquely is we also make you rate your books. It is an author rating, and it's not a moral rating. It's a what's in your books, because people ask all the time, I want to read this book, but I want to know what's in it first. Because maybe I like a really sexy, hot and bothered kind of book. I want to find those. So help me find those kinds of books. Or you get folks who say, I really want it, PG rated kind of thing. And so we want you to find the kinds of books that have both the genre you want and the content you want. So we ask the authors, and when you put your book through, you say, well, it's got some swearing and a little bit of violence and a whole lot of sexy times. And then we tell our readers that. So they'll get a little block that will say, the author has self-told us that in this book, you're going to get some sexy times, you're going to get a tiny bit of violence, and you're going to get a little language. And the way we determined what readers wanted to know about is we polled tens of thousands of them and got back all of the top, this is what we want to know about, so that we can either avoid it or go looking for it. And so it's really, really unique. And we find that it makes our readers really happy. And if your readers are happy and we're making a better match, you get more downloads, and you get more downloads that are a good match, that are going to be reviewers, that are going to be people that read more. So that's the big thing we specialize on. We also help you to build your newsletter. So we do reader magnets where you can put up your freebie, and we do monthly, a lot like what BookFunnel does. We were doing it first, just, by the way, but we're smaller than they are. But we do that monthly thing where you can say, I think we have a science fiction and fantasy one running this month, and a romance, and I believe a mystery. And it's free. So you just join up with that. The promos aren't. So the promos you pay based on your genre, because based on the size of our list, we change the pricing there. But then when you go to the reader magnet, yeah, you have an author account with us. And I believe that having author accounts anywhere you can, so that your SEO comes up more frequently on Google, is always for your benefit. It takes 5 minutes to set up, and it's one more place that the search engines can find you to say, this is an author and there's their books. So sign up anywhere you can to say, I'm an author and here are my books. That's going to tell the search engines where you are, and you're going to get more traffic that way. But in that case, then you can upload the books that you want to use for reader magnets, and you can join any of those groups, and it works just like any other reader magnet does. Everybody shares, we get click-throughs, and then at the end, you get a CVS file that will have however many people click through. You add that to your newsletter, let your automation kick off, and away you go. So it's an easy way to do lead magnets, and there's no cost on that one at all. So it's a great addition to doing something like BookFunnel. Or if you're just getting started and money is really tight, then we can help you build your newsletter for free, and then do promos. Promos run from $15 to $50. And we just
Okay.
started doing
Well,
series promos, so that's a little more.
okay. So you mentioned BookFunnels, and I have to say, for years, if anything was on BookFunnel, I didn't touch it because I couldn't ever figure out how to get it onto my my tablet
Device.
I finally found a thing that you drag it into this Kindle book funnel for Kindle, or Kindle for book funnel, or something like that. And I actually got some, and it's like, oh, okay, finally I figured this out. Well, then months went by and I hadn't used it, and then I started getting some things again on book, and I can't figure it out again. So, and all this is leading up to how do you deliver the uh, the books to people?
So we deliver much like BookFunnel does, just because you don't have a lot of other options. So we have the author will upload their book in a couple of different formats. The EPUB 3 is now the standard. Mobi no longer is, even though we will allow you to put up a Mobi 2 for people who have older devices. And we'll take PDFs if you want them. But same kind of thing. Not the author, the reader will download it, and then they need to sideload it onto their device. And that is we have a technical support team that will help with that if you need it. BookFunnel actually has a really great technical support team. If you call them or you message with them, they can help you figure out how to do side loading. It's a hard thing because there's just no one device. It's the problem of there are so many different e-readers out there that trying to figure out a tutorial walkthrough for every single different kind of e-reader that you might put an EPUB on, it's just too big of a project. So we provide the files, and then if you need help, we'll help you get it uploaded.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. It's one of those things. I missed that window of being tech savvy. When I started my career, it's like everybody in the office would come to me with their office equipment that wasn't working right. But that predates the day of pocket calculators, even let alone phones. And
Oh yeah.
uh, I was like in my mid-career when PCs came out, and the business I worked for was like, oh, okay, everybody has a PC on their desk now. And they gave no training. You had to like figure it
Oh
out yourself.
no.
And that was like, how stupid. Why spend thousands of dollars on equipment if you're never going to teach people how to use it? So, I mean, I call myself destination oriented. I learn something and then I know how to do that.
Mhm.
And don't ask me to do something other than that, and then I learn the next
It's like
thing
the
and I go
breadcrumbs
there,
and yep, yep. It's
so
like the breadcrumbs in Hansel and Gretel. Once you've laid that path, that's the only way you know back and forth for a while.
right. So getting back to promoting our books during the holidays. Now, do you really feel that we should do anything different during the holidays than what we're doing the rest of the year?
Not significantly. I think you need to look really closely at your budget and what makes sense, and set up really good expectations. Because I know some people say, it's going to be the holidays and I'm going to make $1 million. This is where I'm going to make all of my money over the year. And then because there really is still increased competition, they may not make those goals. And then it gets really frustrating. And then they go, well, I can never make money during the holidays the next year. And they don't put a book out at all. And it's like, well, if you've got nothing that you're pushing, you're definitely not going to make any money during the holidays. So you do want to
Mm-hmm.
think about, what are the aspects that are going to appeal to people? It's a good time to go through and look at that book description. Make sure that your sales page is as bright and shiny as it can be. And we're seeing this a lot actually, where people are like, oh yeah, promos don't work anymore. People are just not clicking through. I can tell you the data on the back end doesn't support that. We can see that people are clicking through to your books. You're losing them at the sales page. And it's either because financially, they're doing the I'm browsing and I'm going to look at 6 books and I'm only going to buy one because the economy is being rough on all of us. And that's nothing that, all we can do is keep putting our books up in that case and bringing as many people as we can. But the other thing that's happening is people get to your sales page and something on that sales page doesn't convert. And for most promos, the things that they see up ahead of time, they get a glimpse at your cover and they get a glimpse at a short description. It's usually not your entire description. So when they're getting there, if the entire description doesn't now sell the book, you're not going to get that click that says, I'm going to buy. And so I can send you 300 or 400 clicks, but if your page isn't converting, that's something that we can't fix for you. So it really is a matter of dive in there, make sure that your descriptions are really solid. Have something that links to the holidays, even if it's not specifically a holiday book, move that up in the description. Check your keywords. This can be a good time to go in, usually in about October, and change up some of your keywords, double check your categories and make sure that you're where you want to be. Because making sure those things are done ahead of time, because it takes a couple of weeks for it to move through the ecosystem of any given distributor, that's going to bring you up in search quicker. It's going to make your conversion better during those 2 weeks. So you do want to think about your lead time. Also getting in with promotions, we fill up fast for the holidays. I am scheduled out through almost the end of December. I've got a few spots here and there that I could still put people in, but your places with the best turnover, they're filling up now, or they filled up in October. So you really want to think ahead of time. When do I want this to go out and get those spots early? Also, don't just put your book on sale for one day. This gets really, really, what would I say? It's difficult for us because I don't ever want to reject your book. But when you send the book and you say, the only day that I'm doing this is Thanksgiving, end of discussion. Well, if somebody got in before you, we limit the number of books we send out, and any promotional company that's going to be good for you needs to limit them. Because again, you don't want to be one book in 150 entries. If that happens, the books that will sell is what's at top. Because people look at that, they scroll down a little bit, and then they go, I'm out of time and I'm not going to look anymore. And if you're on the bottom of the list, you're just screwed. So the best promotional places are only going to send out 1 or 2 books that are in exactly the same genre, exactly the same kind of content in any given newsletter. So if I'm already full up and you've only given me one day, I can't give you my next best day. Also, because people are checking their email, but there's often a lag, especially if they're traveling. If you say this is only available on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and they check their email on Thursday, and now your book's already back off sale, you've lost all of that potential of people who would have picked it up if it was more than one day. But we get really stuck on the idea of, well, I have to get it back off sale as fast as possible. That's not always reaching your goals. Okay. Sometimes, especially with sales, the whole point is we're giving up a little bit as a loss leader to pull people into the wonderful brand that is you. Place you're making your money is not on the book you're putting on sale anyway. It's on the read through to your backlist. It's on getting them onto that newsletter. It's all of those things. So you need to look at the sales opportunity and not look at it as the loss that you're having because not that those 100 people bought it at 99 cents and not 6.99. Most of those people wouldn't have bought it at 6.99. That's why it's a sale. So you have to sometimes change the way you think about things. And especially during the holidays, again, we all want to make big money, but we have to think this is how our readers are thinking. We want to get them hooked during the holidays so they read all the way through. First week of January and that week between Christmas and January, those can actually be really great times for promotions because that's when people are off of the Christmas whoo, and they got Amazon cards, they got e-readers for Christmas. They're looking for something to put on them. So that's when you want to jump in there and bring them in and make them part of your digital world.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense because, yeah, I mean, so often these days with us not being in a locale next to everybody during the gift giving, and for younger people that, grandma doesn't know what the heck to give for kids anymore. Money or gift cards work great. And so often, yeah, people are coming out of the holidays with money to spend. And, if some of that money is book money, then, they're wanting to find things. How long do you think is it reasonable to put on sale? I think a week is usually reasonable, but I have no clue.
I encourage a minimum of 3 days, up to a week, depending on, what else you're doing. Because things like if you're using, say, the free option with Kindle Unlimited / Kindle Select, you only have 5 days to work with. So you can't do that. And if you've used part of a Kindle Countdown in a different time of the month, so something I do sometimes with Kindle Countdowns is I split them. And during November, I'm going to run 3 days. And then during December, I'm going to run 4 because you can split up those kinds of things if you're in KU to also be able to do price changes. If you're wide, you can kind of do what you want. But I do usually say 3 days at minimum, about a week maximum. I do have some clients I work with, and they'll put a book on sale for the entire month. And then they go to several different promo sites and they'll space those out. So the book's always rising in the rankings. Because as we all know, the Amazon rankings go down a lot faster than they go up. And they really like nice gradual raises and continual raises over a big old spike that happens on one day and then isn't followed up by anything. So another way just to keep yourself really high in that visibility. And that's really what marketing books is about. It's all about visibility because readers are going to read lots of different books. And just because you have a great book doesn't mean they won't read my great book. They're not just going to pick up one romance and say, I'm done with that. I mean, especially romance readers, they want to read them all, but they can't read what they can't see. So another strategy is when you do take that book and say, I'm going to make it 99 cents all month, and I'm going to keep throwing it little blasts of, here, I'm going to team up with some other authors for a group promotion. Here, I'm going to do a newsletter promotion, and I'm going to keep that book higher in those rankings through the whole month. That's better visibility. And again, that's pulling them into that backlist and into your newsletter, into all the things that you can keep marketing to them year round.
Okay.
So I do
So
like a good time space.
Okay, no, that makes horrendous sense. Horrendous. That's a word I like. And then somebody pointed out to me the other day that if you really think about the definition, it's not what I want to say. I want to say that makes incredible sense. So, okay, so let's say a person has a series, so they can put anyone on sale that they want. Would they typically always put the first one on sale, or would they put the most recent release on sale?
Depends on your kind of series. So when we look at series, there's different kinds out there. We have, say, a dynamic series like Harry Potter, where you really have to read them in order for it to make any sense whatsoever. And in that case, you really do want to push people to book one and get the read through across the entire series. And with those, I would always say it's always book one, always send them into book one. You might do a little bit of promotion of the other ones just to give them a pop up, because sometimes promoting a later one can still get someone to go back to the beginning of the series, but not as much as putting your money into book one. So that's with that kind of one. Then we get what we call an anthology series. And that's what we see a lot in romance, where you'll get, here is, well, like I write the Miller Lodge romances, and it's all a family. And it really, there's a little bit of continuity. I see with the pair. I can speak as far as the time frame, but if you read them out of order, it doesn't destroy anything. It really, really doesn't. And so there I can look at it and go, which one is most appropriate? Which one do I think hasn't had some marketing love for a while? And in that case, I can pick any of the ones in the series and say, this is what I'm going to do. And so through a holidays, I might say, I'm going to do this one in October. I'm going to focus on this one in November and this one on December, because they're all still bringing people back into the general series. And so I'll pick a few of them and kind of spread that out, because depending on the tropes you've written, you're going to pull different kinds of readers who will still probably like your entire body of work. But if they're a big second chance romance kind of person, I can get them in with my second chance romance, and then they're also going to read my Sunshine Grumpy book. That's all good for me. So you really do have to analyze, what kind of series have I got here? Do the readers need a specific endpoint, or can I really be flexible and use whichever book is going to really suit the readers that I'm going after? And again, the season. So like the one that I've got that is a winter book is not the first in series. Technically, it's not the first one that was put out in that order, but because the order is an anthology like that, it doesn't matter. So I can always put money to that one in the winter time, match those things up, and it's not going to hurt anybody that they're coming in on that book versus the one that chronologically was released first.
And that makes a lot of sense. So, do we have any questions out there? Max, Roz, Linda, you can unmute yourself and excuse me, and ask questions. You can put questions in the chat. Oh, I see some things in the chat here that I haven't been looking. Okay, let me go to the top here. Okay, so Ross says, oh, the chat is set to only being direct messages to me. My apologies for that. I will have to change that. Yeah, so it says, excuse me just a second. I spent so much time with I spent so much time with the Forest Week, signing up to all the newsletters, etc. Oh, that was probably Escape the Plot Forest Summit, yeah. And purchased the extended access. I loved it all, but now have overwhelm. How now to prioritize the next part of the writing publishing process? Roz, would you mind unmuting yourself? Your picture's not on here, just your name. I'd like to discuss that with you a little bit more. What's the difference between a love story versus a romance? Well, hi, how are you? Okay. Well, hi. Okay, a romance will always have a happily ever after or a happy for now. A love story, well, let me also define this. A romance, the main plot of the book is the romance, and everything else is a subplot. With a love story, the romance would be the subplot, and everything else that happens in the book is the main plot.
Okay, yeah, I've done one of your courses, so and of course had connection with Jana. It's been one of those things that it's still not clear in my head, and after all of that Plot Forest Week thingy, it was really interesting, but it can get a wee bit much. I thought, well, I need to re-clarify that, because I am about to go into doing the first fiction more deeply. I've only just sort of scratched the surface, and I you know, the plot, the whole thing around now, which way do I go, love story or romance? Yeah, so it was just needing to clarify that. I think you have done that just in that. Yeah. simple
Love
way.
stories are
Okay.
allowed to end in tragedy. Romeo and Juliet is not a romance; it's a love story
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
ill-advised through the whole thing, and in the end, nobody is happy. Everybody is
Yeah,
dead.
right.
Nobody is happy. That is a love story. Nicholas Sparks, most of what he writes falls under love story or women's fiction because people do not get to live happily ever after. They make bad decisions in the name of love, and nobody, the people we want to get together don't get together. The nice guys finish last. And it's still about the emotional journey of falling in love, and
Yeah.
a romance happens, but it does not end happily. A romance is that happily ever after, and this is a very Western thing. So if you talk to a lot of our European friends, they do not understand the Western romance that romance books are written around, because we've got a friend who grew up in Paris, and she is very, very much, she hates the Western romance where things end up okay, because she says real life is not that way. I want the pain. And it's like, well, then you don't want to read a romance. You want to read a love story. Go read those ones. And that's kind of your difference in your audience, is do they want that painful, this is what real life is like, and people don't always get what they want, and sometimes people die and all that kind of stuff, or do they want the happily ever after? Do they want we know that no matter what this couple goes through, it's going to be painful and beautiful, but on the other end, we know it's going to work out, and we want that promise that it's going to work out and it's going to be worth the journey. That's a romance.
Right.
Yeah.
And also with romance, something that's very important is that there is a character arc that brings them to that happily ever after. They start out the main character starts out with some kind of a flaw or a wound, and all the things that happen in between, he slowly, or she is slowly healing that and coming out of that and realizing that what has been preventing love from being part of her life. So at the end, the character arc, you have they're a better person. So,
Yeah.
there's also Linda is asking, does Book Cave offer promos for audiobooks?
We are working on it right now. Our programmer is behind the scenes. So audiobooks are kind of a funny thing, simply because there aren't as many places we can direct them to. And so we're trying to find really good ways to be able to offer audiobook follow-up. And that will probably be a 2024 release for us. I think you are going to see a lot of the author promotional places stepping up to do more with audiobooks, and more with subscriptions into 2024, and more with direct links, because we've got so many authors who are delving into all of those things, and you guys need the support that we're there to offer. So I think you're going to see a bunch of places, us included, who will be opening our doors to making those things a real thrust of the advertising that we're helping you do. We're just a little bit behind because there's so much to program to make sure it's going to work correctly.
Yeah. It always, a lot of times when I buy a book on Amazon, an ebook on Amazon, of course, it always asks whether or not I want to buy the audiobook, if there's an audiobook there. And I'll tell you, when I was traveling a lot, I absolutely loved being able to do the whisper sync, where on my tablet, where I left off there, I could go right over to the whisper sync to listen in the car. So that was really great there.
Yeah.
So I would think to myself, here's just an idea for you, and you can throw it out if it's not appropriate. But if somebody's going to be promoting their ebook and they have an audiobook, why not be able to put both of those into one promotion? Here's the ebook, and then oh, and by the way, they have the audiobook too. Michelle, thank you for joining us. I really messed up this month on time changes, because my time, Spotlight on Romance is always at 5 o'clock, and my time in Arizona did not change. So I was 6 o'clock.
Everybody else
and
did.
Jana pointed out to me that I had put out there that it was 6 o'clock p.m. and I meant 6 o'clock Mountain. So this is being recorded, and we will get the recording up tomorrow, because there has been some really great information here. Jen has been sharing us some really great information. So if you have any
That's where
questions
we're headed
about
with audio. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, if you have any questions that you specifically want to ask about holiday marketing, that would be great. And I see that Ross is saying that she's really happy it's being recorded. Yes, I will get that up tonight. So, do we have any other questions for Jana? You can unmute yourself, or you can put the questions in the chat.
Yeah, something you're seeing more promotion places doing now, and this is kind of the preliminary before audio, is that we're getting more aggressive about helping you with series. Because it used to be that really all that any of us did, any of the promo places, is you could choose one book and say this book is on sale, and then they would have to go through to your website, go through to Amazon to find out that you had other books. So now a lot of us, including Book Cave, are offering a series discount as well. So instead, when it comes with your email, you get, here's the cover for the book you've got on sale, cute little blurb, and then beneath it, we'll show the covers of all the rest of your books. And that way people can look at it right off and say, oh, this is a 6-book series. I'm looking for something to binge, and they can pick that up. So that's the first thing that's come through. And that's leading to exactly what you said, Paula, where we're going to be able to say, oh, here's the ebook. And by the way, they also have it in audiobook. They also have it as a direct sale. We can already do the links for multiple distributors. Now it's finding the best way to also do individual stores, because we want to make sure that those links are always good. And that's where the things get complicated, is making sure that we're always getting clean links. And it's really easy when we can go check the distributors. Checking everybody's website stores takes a long time, but a lot of that technology, it's coming. We want to empower authors to connect with their readers. That's really our job as promoters. Is we're the matchmaker. We're that whole Fiddler on the Roof matchmaker thing. We're the ones that stand in the middle, and we really, really want to take your books and the books that your readers, and we want to bring them together.
I'm going to, if nobody has any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, get the recording done tonight so I can get it up there tomorrow. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us, Jana. We will get this posted up there tomorrow. And just to remind everyone, I do also post this on my YouTube channel, and then it stays up there permanently on my YouTube channel. So, you will be able to revisit this this time next year. And as Jana had said, when it comes to holiday promotions, we need to be thinking about that late September, early October, and make sure that that we get our holiday promotion figured out early. Okay, I thank you. I thank everyone for being here. I'm so sorry that I messed up on the time. I will do better in the future. Okay.
Oh, it's all good. And if anybody has questions, I'm on Facebook under Jana Stocks Brown. You can find me on the Dreamweavers page. Feel free to shoot questions out, and I'm happy to answer them and do anything I can to make your writing lives and your promotional lives easier. Bye-bye now.